What happened to the past? What happened to this? What happened to that? It's a question I often ask, where are my socks? But this isn't about me and my personal struggles. This is about what happened to the Simpsons games. This is a new series we are starting on the channel, and like all series, it's one we'll revisit over time. The Simpsons games are very fun, off and on. Some of them are horrible, like Simpsons Skateboarding is pretty bad, but others are really fun, like Road Rage and Hit and Run. And even probably, I would say, the more underrated Simpsons game that came after the movie. There were games forever, but they've been noticeably absent since 2012-ish. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content. Nate, you are a huge Simpsons fan.
Big fan, huge fan.
I mean, you love the show.
Yeah, I really like The Simpsons. My first experience, actually, remember that Simpsons Arcade game?
Yes.
That they actually remade.
Konami.
Which I'm pretty happy about. But, yeah, no, the thing that's annoying to me is there hasn't been a Simpsons game since, well, the last one to come out was Tapped Out, which is a mobile game.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that was in 2012, like you said.
Yeah, and there was a long history of them. And even speaking of the one you're talking about, the Simpsons Arcade, it's worth mentioning that remake from Arcade 1-Up. Not to really take a dump on this company, but their products are pretty expensive.
Well, yeah, it's like a full-sized arcade machine.
They're just redoing it as that. But the problem that I have with something like that, too, without getting too far into it, is that they had actually re-released that game years ago on the Xbox 360 and PS3. They had re-released it back in, I believe, 2009. And then they got rid of it again when they had a licensing issue, and now it's coming back from Arcade 1-Up. But basically, there's no affordable way to even own that game.
Right.
For just base gamers who don't have an arcade room and tons of money.
Right. Yeah, and the one that came out in 2012 was Tapped Out, which I think we both agree the game's kind of fine.
It's okay.
It's not bad.
I mean, I'm not a mobile gamer.
Right.
I just generally do not like mobile games. Yeah. It is a pretty generic mobile game. It is focused on rehashing old jokes from the show.
Yeah.
And also just making you tap the screen. I mean, that's it. It's in the name. They kind of encourage you to spend a lot of money on the game. It's a mobile game. It very clearly generates revenue for EA because it actually still gets updates to this day. And that, I think, at the end of the day, is what happened to Simpsons games, is EA. Honestly, because EA sort of came in and they had some rights to it earlier on, actually. I don't think a lot of people remember, but they did actually publish Road Rage, Skateboarding. They published a few things back in the day as well.
Even the Simpsons Wrestling.
Yeah. I mean, they published a lot of stuff in terms of games for this series, but the thing is, EA over time has moved away from these self-contained games. I mean, people know that. We talked about EA before. EA has moved more into sports games and generating revenue streams and not as much just a video game.
Yeah, they were just like fun, enjoyable experiences that you hop on to play. But I think the universal conclusion for this channel in general is EA happened.
Yeah, EA sadly is... It's rough because, without making this about EA themselves, EA is a publisher that I think can make amazing games.
Yeah, definitely.
We've got the... and obviously it's usually the development teams under them, under the publishing arm, but, having things under their belt as well, like Road Rage in the past, or, even other games like Dead Space. It wasn't as nickeled and dimed as it is now. You and I were looking, they did a lot of different licensed stuff back in the day. James Bond, Simpsons, they had Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, it's really kind of sad that they moved away from more games than just sports. It's really sad, especially in the terms of Simpsons, is the last real Simpsons game, not Tapped Out, the last console Simpsons video game that came out was in 2007, because the other ones were mobile games. That was 14 years ago that this came out. It's kind of sad because these games are fun.
And the show has consistently run.
Yeah.
I completely understand that a lot of people want it to stop.
Right.
So I'm not saying the show is at its peak. It certainly is not.
Right.
Even if you still love it, it's not peak Simpsons anymore. But I do think that it's interesting how this is a brand with a lot of longevity, and it looked like one that would have a lot of gaming longevity going forward. which I think is the problem. Once EA lucked into Tapped Out, and that was the only thing on the market for Simpsons fans, that's all there was to make a revenue stream off of. So instead of diversifying and wanting to make, another thing like the Simpsons game on 360 or PS3, or even Hit and Run, they just want to max out the credit cards on Tapped Out. Somebody remade Hit and Run in the Unreal Engine.
Yeah.
On their own.
Mm-hmm.
They remade this game, and EA won't do it. This is one person, just a fan. And you know what was hilariously stupid to me? Is that it was reportedly taken down for copyright infringement.
Yeah. And
it's like, but you aren't using the copyright.
Right.
I get that you own the copyright.
But you're not doing anything with it.
Right. And it goes both ways to me, because, if you are making games and some fan comes along and makes a fan indie game, your game should be good enough that that game is irrelevant.
Yeah.
Pokemon Uraniums of the world. I am not saying it's bad at all, but it's an unofficial fan game. You know what I mean? If you are doing your job as, say, Nintendo, that should pose no threat to you.
Right.
If it's being sold, yes, it'll pose a threat, because that's actively, you can make a legal argument that's taking away from your revenue stream.
Right.
But if it's not, your games as a AAA developer should be so much better than whatever that fan can come up with. No offense to fans, it's literally because of budget. You're one person or a small group of people versus $1 billion company.
Right.
They should be able to compete. No, you can't. But this recreation was taken down immediately, despite the fact that they won't make one themselves. And that's even also despite the fact, actually, that the Simpsons co-showrunner said that he would love to see Hit and Run return, but that it was very complicated to get it back in circulation. Matt Selman had spoken to IGN recently, actually. He had worked on the animation since 1997, saying, "I would love to see a remastered versions of Simpsons Hit and Run, I would, but it's a complicated corporate octopus to try and make that happen." And back in 2019, Hit and Run producer Vlad Seraldi had also said that a remake would be wonderful, but that it would take a lot of cooperation from different parties, which is why it wasn't happening. It essentially comes down to rights issues in terms of they have to get someone to make it, they have to do revenue splits, is it worth time, all this different stuff. There's been pitches forever, open Springfield game, open world.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
RPG type thing, all kinds of stuff that you could do with this.
Michael Jackson game.
They would edit it off of Disney Plus. And I think that at the end of the day, that's the other thing, is I think that hope for new Simpsons games diminished when Disney got Fox.
Yeah.
We can blame EA all we want, and obviously blame Fox. Fox and EA screwed the pooch for years. Mm-hmm. They were not able to get it going for years. But now we have Disney, where they are actively editing certain episodes of Simpsons on Disney Plus or cutting them out.
Yep.
So they can go on Disney Plus. No more physicals. And Fox had moved that way already, but it seems like Disney is just doubling down on it to get people on Disney Plus. So it's just all of these different corporations that have been unwilling to work with anyone else.
Yeah, it's pretty sad because there, like you said, there's a lot of untapped potential in the show.
Untapped out potential.
Untapped out. Hey, there we go. There's a lot of untapped out potential in the show that it's not getting explored. And I think The Simpsons has a big fan following, obviously.
Yeah.
There's like 30-something seasons. Obviously, it's still popular. I think it has enough of a fan following that making a new game could be very, very good. Especially when you see a lot of like older classic games coming back. Like we're talking Crash coming back. Even Spyro got a remaster. But other like classic-y type of games are coming back. Why not remaster a Hit and Run again?
Yeah.
Or why not just make a new game?
Well, it's sad because I think that a lot of companies took the wrong lessons from those classics coming back. They abandoned those franchises for, what would you say, like a decade? Spyro and Crash.
Yeah,
Activision abandoned those forever. And then they bring them back and they're like, sales are not what we expected. They're not as good as we wanted them to be. So like Crash Insane Trilogy sold very well.
Yeah.
The kart racing sold, my understanding is worse, but still very good.
Mm-hmm.
Then when they made 4, it didn't sell as well as they wanted it to. And now Activision has moved, and this is Activision, not EA, but they have now moved everyone to Call of Duty.
Yep.
Where Toys for Bob and these other developers that were working on some of this stuff, they quit. So now you have those names, but you don't have the people.
Mm-hmm.
This is the same issue you have with Silent Hill and Konami. By the time you get back around to doing it, everyone who originally worked on it, you've alienated and isolated them, so they left.
Yep.
So now we have a Simpsons... It sounds like really weirdly sexual desire. Like a desire for Simpsons products from fans like us, right?
Yeah.
But the people who made them happen, a lot of them are gone. You sort of have this window to make these things happen. If you want to do a follow-up to Hit and Run, like a Hit and Run 2, you have a window of about 10 years before most of the people who probably worked on it have left for other business ventures, because that's how it works.
Mm-hmm.
And now you have the same company trying to make maybe a follow-up that is not the same people. And I think that a lot of that window was missed. I'm not saying there could never be another good Simpsons game. I'm not saying they could never do a good remake of Hit and Run. A guy did it on his own.
Right.
They could. But I'm just saying that you start to miss these windows of opportunity, and then you start to get a decline in people caring as well.
Right. Yeah, you have to make smart business decisions with these, because if you don't, the fan base moves on to something else. In 10 years, let's say in 10 years from now, Activision for some reason got off of their COD pedestal, and they're like, well, let's make a Crash 5. Do you think in 10 years from now people are going to care? There might be, there might be some original Crash fans that are like, ooh, that's awesome.
Right.
And there might be some gaming fans in general that are like, hey, that's great. But the majority of people have moved on. And that's what I think the problem with The Simpsons is, since your last console game was in 2007, was it?
Yep.
That is 14 years ago. A lot of those people have moved on. Let's say they announced today that they were making a new Simpsons game and it would come out 1 year from now. Who knows how the game's going to even do? Is kind of the problem, because you've wasted the last 14 years doing nothing.
The problem is that not only did they leave the games alone, they also had a decline in the writing. You can still love The Simpsons. Most people don't like it more now than they did back in the day.
Yeah.
So when your marketing essentially is declining, the one product you're putting out is going downhill slowly, even if it's still good.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not making anything on any other front. Now you're not keeping the brand alive in that way either. How many people have left The Simpsons show?
Yeah, actually quite a few.
So now to the point where if you make a game, are people just going to assume, oh, it's going to be the new writing style? I don't like that.
Yeah. A lot of people would assume that.
How many fans have you alienated?
I think the only thing I have to add to it is I just want another Simpsons game.
Yeah, I mean, I do too.
I mean, I love this show a lot. It's very sad that it's been 14 years since a game has come out. That's really sad to me.
If they did a classic collection, Hit and Run, Road Rage, and the arcade game all together in the same
awesome.
Thing, I'd pay $60-$70 for it.
I'm at like 100% right now, just thinking about it.
I'd pay full price for that.
I would too.
But no one wants to.
Yeah. I didn't watch the show until later on in my life, but as a kid, I played that arcade game. Me and my parents would bring me to Chuck E. Cheese. We used to go there all the time, and me and my brother would play this game for like hours.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we love this game. And I didn't watch the show till later on, but yeah, I was a huge fan of that game.
Hit and Run got me into the show.
Oh, really?
I played it at my sister's boyfriend's house.
Wow.
And I think it was because he thought I was an annoying kid.
So he just he put a TV in front of you?
Yeah, he had a big screen downstairs, and he was like, here, just play this game, so that I wouldn't bother him.
Right.
He was a nice guy to me. But
you and your sister are going in the back room, play the game.
Basically, it would be like to get me away. So then I'd just sit and play like Simpsons Hit and Run and stuff, and that's what got me into the franchise. So I think that they missed a lot of new fans potentially with this too. But I'm interested to hear what they think in the comments down below. Also, what other franchises would you like to see us cover? Let us know what you think. Have a fantastic day. Please be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed it, subscribe for more content, and check out our secondary channel, Degenerate Plays, where we play through a wide variety of games with you. And as always, everyone, stay shway.